garish sky, old stories hit high, tales of struggle and strife. Keep your head in the fight, broken bones in the street. Ain't no place for the weak, from the land of the brave, where the words cut deep. Coming next on the air now, feel the despair. Generation X, shout out, shattered somewhere. Rising up from the dark with a fire and spark. Rage and passion combined to leave a lasting mark. Coming next, shouting loud, voices from the crowd. Through the mist of...
Welcome back to Common X, where real conversations still mean something. I'm Ian, flying solo today. Unfortunately, Jared's a little under the weather, and we've got a killer guest lineup. You might know him as the lead singer of When in Rome 2, carrying the torch of that classic 80s synth-pop energy into a new era. But behind the mic, he's also one of the top audio engineers at Warner Brothers, shaping the sounds you hear in film, TV, and music every day. Today with me is Johnny Ceravolo. How are you doing, man?
I'm awake.
You're awake and you're here.
Yeah.
Got lots of projects coming on. What's been going on with you, man?
Well, this year, I picked up comedy. I started doing stand-up, and last year I joined a band with my friend Kyle in Austin, and then I work as an audio engineer at Warner Brothers. So those three things are lit up right now, and I'm having a ball. I can't believe it. They're all like really exciting for me. So yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's start at the beginning. How did music first grab you, and what led you into When in Rome 2?
So when I was a kid, I loved music. And then I remember, I think I was 10, I started hearing this melody in my head, and I had never heard it before. And so I went to the piano and I started finding the notes. And then I heard a counter melody. And so I found those notes. And then for like 2 weeks, like all day long, I was trying to figure out how to play the right hand. And then I'd switch over and I'd try to figure out how to play the left hand. And then when I could play both hands independent, then I sat down and tried to figure out how to do them at the same time. And then, And then when I finally figured that out, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks or something of just driving everyone crazy. Then I played it, and I realized that that had come out of nowhere, that I had not heard that. That was music I hadn't heard before. And then I became obsessed with seeing if I could play it perfectly. And so for months, I sat down at the piano, and just all day long, I would try and play it perfectly. And then I got to the point where I could play it perfect every time. The goal was to be able to wake up in the morning, go to the piano, and sit down and play it perfect. And when I got to that point, then my brain was satisfied. And then one day and then I just would play it all the time. I'd walk by the piano and I'd just sit down and play it. And I remember one day I was playing, and I looked out we had one of these massive bay windows that faced out into the backyard. And I remember looking out, and I was seeing, we had this tree in the backyard, and there were these leaves, and they were kind of fluttering in the wind, and then they were lit up by the sun. So they were glowing by the sun and lit up and flittering in the wind. And I looked down at my fingers, and I connected my fingers with the leaves. And that was kind of the moment where I knew like what I was. And then the rest of my life has basically been that experience repeated over and over again. Yeah.
Well, and that's cool because we'll sprinkle some of your clips in here, some of the music you sent me, man. It's very powerful.
Yes, man.
It kind of explains too, like I remember talking to you the other day, and I was kind of like, man, like don't discount your voice, like it. And I said the word technical because you kind of hear that in there. Did you have any earlier influences growing up that kind of led you to that?
Yes. So, vocally, I heard the kind of singing that I do now. I heard that in my head. Kind of like I heard the minuet, that little piano piece that I wrote. I heard singing in my head, and it was all these different characters, and I was trying to figure out how to mimic these characters that I was hearing in my head. And every once in a while, I would hear a singer that was doing something that was akin to the voice. I heard Midure from Ultravox.
Okay.
I heard uh, Robert Plant. I heard Ronnie James Dio. I still to this day think that Ronnie James Dio is the greatest rock singer of all time. From that era, from like the early metal era.
Yeah.
And then I started getting really into opera singers and sopranos, and I started trying to mimic like falsetto stuff that female opera singers were doing. And then I became obsessed with this female singer, Lisa Gerrard, from a band called Dead Can Dance. And at the same time, I became obsessed with her counterpart, Brandon, from the other lead singer in Dead Can Dance, a male, who does kind of like a Sinatra crooning kind of a thing. And so I began using Lisa Gerrard and Brendan from Dead Can Dance as reference points vocally. So I would go from like a very like masculine, bellowing kind of vocalization up into this otherworldly, angelic kind of character. And then I could go into falsetto and then go into like some of the more belted raging kind of Dio stuff. And then I also really got into Iggy Pop. I love Iggy Pop's voice, and I love how there's just this complete disregard for singing. And at the same time, there's a deep reverence for being a great lyricist and a great vocalist and a great artist. And I think about Iggy Pop more than any other vocalist these days. Like I'm much more focused on what he does and has done over the course of his career. And then David Bowie became very important to me, vocally and also as an artist. And so that all of those ingredients, I guess, have kind of informed, or it's more like I heard what I wanted to do, and then I would hear somebody else doing what I wanted to do, and then I would become obsessed. Like in the way that I obsessed over playing the piano piece, I would obsess over figuring out physically what they were doing. And when I started trying to talk to vocal coaches about what I wanted to do, they told me not to sing that way, and that I would destroy my voice, and that I would, that I wouldn't be able to sustain it. And here I am decades later, and my voice is stronger.
Yeah.
So, but I don't care as much about singing anymore. I care a lot more about like creating an experience, and if a vocalization will serve the construction of that experience, or the pathway into that realm of experience, then I'll pull it off the shelf and use it. But more often than not, I'm trying not to sing. There's something about not singing, and then when you do bring the voice in after not singing for a certain amount of time, I feel like it matters more than, like, there are these guys who are like athletes, and then there are these guys who are like artists, and I'm much more interested in the artists. Iggy Pop, Bob Dylan, and Kurt Cobain wouldn't pass the first round of auditions for America's Got Talent, And that tells me
Okay.
there's something wrong with America's Got Talent. And
Yeah.
it tells me that the thing that matters and the thing that connects more universally has a lot less to do with technical proficiency and a lot more to do with whether or not the art is inspired. And so I'm really trying to not forget that, because the temptation, like, people are always trying to tell me that my voice is this thing, and it's not.
Hmm.
The voice doesn't matter. The thing that matters is whether or not what you're doing is inspired. You know,
Right.
anybody can play a Beatles song, but try to write one.
Right. I hear you, man. So you think that rebellious nature is kind of the key ingredient?
I don't feel like it's rebellion. I feel like it's reverence and respect for what I value in art. Like, to me, I don't feel like I'm being defiant. I feel like I'm being dutiful.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I love that. I love the way that you think about that. Is
Thanks,
there
man.
a transition between playing live and recording then for you? Or is it a different headspace, or do you kind of try to bring that same live experience energy into the studio?
Well, it depends on the ensemble and the composition. So, like,
Yeah.
I feel like with Led Zeppelin, um, you felt like those guys spent a lot of time in a room together,
Yeah.
and it like, when you look at the live footage of them playing, it's like they're all really close together, like they're connected physically together. And like with AC/DC, like when you listen to them, you get the feeling that they play a lot together. And when you listen to their
Yeah.
records, it feels like you're listening to a performance. And then, if you listen to like a band like Pink Floyd, you know, you get that feeling that there's, like, definitely like a band at the core of that. But then when you go into the studio and you start adding layers and you start creating a much more complex arrangement, when the ensemble begins to um, expand by orders of magnitude, then you all of a sudden have this situation where you're trying to fit 10 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag.
Mm.
And so it's like you only have so many frequencies that you can work with. And so you have to start figuring out how to carve out space for all of the different elements that you want. And there's this artistry that goes into that is a completely different um, mental domain. When I'm singing in the recording studio, um, what I'm trying to do in that experience is disappear into the music. And there's no audience, there's no spectator, there's no one watching. It's just me in the song. And there's this like with all great spiritual movements, there's usually like this figurehead, and that figurehead will go into isolation for extended periods of time and be completely alone, like in self-imposed solitary confinement. And
Mm.
it's in that place that there's this revelation that gets revealed. And then they take that revelation and they go out into the world and they share it with their people, or whatever, the people that they know. And then it becomes a completely different. And I feel like music is very much that kind of a thing where you hear something in your head and then you figure out how to turn it into a physical reality. And then once you've turned it into a physical reality and you've captured that physical reality, then you take it out into the world and you put it out there, and either it turns into a movement or it doesn't, you know.
Right.
There is something about being in front of like a massive crowd of people, um, that is that 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 completely recontextualizes the experience that was once a very insular, solitary, remote, private experience. And all of a sudden, it doesn't belong to the artist anymore. The message doesn't belong to the messenger anymore. Now the message belongs to the collective. And everybody in that collective gets to take that message and contextualize it, reconfigure it to their personal experience. And so there's this weird thing where, like, we all have fingerprints. And so that's something that we have in common. And yet at the same time, we use those fingerprints to distinguish ourselves from one another. And so I think there's this personal thing, and then there's this universal thing that happens simultaneously when you're performing to an audience. And I think that the existence of those two extremes in the same place creates this kind of transcendence, this collective transcendence that unites us all and kind of reminds us of how precious we are as individuals and how much we need and benefit from the company of others, from having community. And so it kind of turns into this like massive exercise in reminding us that we're special and reminding us that we're part of something.
Wow, man, Johnny, that's pretty powerful. And it's kind of a relief too to know that, as you know, people who buy the tickets and show up to these shows, that the artist feels that way. Do you feel that that transitions into your work with Warner Brothers as well?
Well, what's great about Warner Brothers is that I'm in much more of a supporting role. So like what I'm doing at Warner Brothers is I'm building sessions, and then the mixers that I work with are using those sessions to be creative. So it's kind of like I'm the roadie at Warner Brothers, and I love that. Like I love being the little guy in the back of the room that makes the room work, you know?
Yeah, that's cool.
And I'm not even that. Like we have engineers who come in and they fix whatever I break. You know what I mean? Like so, it's very satisfying to me to just be like in a service role where I get to be of service to my guys, and I get to, like, you know, make sure that they have what they need, and that I get to, you know, try to anticipate, like, oh, this might turn into a problem. Let me go and prep for that, so that if it becomes a problem, I'll have a solution. And like not being like when I was singing with When in Rome, I did not like being a lead singer. Like I don't like being a lead singer. You know, like I don't like I don't like this idea that somehow now I'm, you know, not, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't like that at all. I do much better in a supportive role where someone else is the highlight of the evening, and I get to like make sure they're okay. Like I feel much more comfortable in that. I love the work of creating, and I love the work of finding a way to sustainably execute whatever the song requires in a live context. I love the work of that. And then I love the performance and connection with the audience. I love that part of it. But the shit outside of that, where, you know, like when I got into When in Rome and when I started touring, like all of a sudden people who had never given two shits about me were telling everyone that they knew me and that they were my friend. And it got to the point a few years in where I didn't know why anyone was talking to me. I had like a few close friends who I knew were going to be there when in Rome ended. And everybody else, I kind of didn't know why they were talking to me. If it was because they felt like it gave them status. And to me, that's hilarious because I can't stand myself. Like I really have, like, I'm underwhelmed with me, like most of the time. And so this idea that because I'm in a band that isn't even really my band, that's known for a song that I didn't write, that I didn't record, and it's like all of a sudden everybody's like, you know, sending me screenshots of, oh, The Promise just came on, you know, and I thought of you, and it's like, yeah, that's not me, motherfucker. Like I didn't sing that fucking song. And like,
Right.
that's the guy who sang that song, like all of his little fans came after me because I replaced him. So thanks for
Right.
that. And then like the people who knew me, you know, would do that
Yeah.
to mess with me because they knew that I hated it. And I loved that because like
Right. They're just razzing you, right?
I like it when people are not trying to treat me like I'm something special. I like it when people are, you know, giving me shit because it makes me
Yeah.
know that it makes me know that they're like my friend, you know,
Right. And that they
because
care.
they're my friend, like they know
Right.
me, not like that guy on that stage that
Right. Not that
yeah
that fake sense of I'm trying to get somewhere by saying that I know him or
yeah
whatever, and then not even
and
relating your, your actual,
and then
part in that band.
the stuff that comes with like being the second lead singer in a band that has a song on the radio that's been on the radio for like decades, the thing that comes
Yeah.
with that, you know, we're like I'd get off stage and fans would come up to me and be like, you were a really good singer in the 80s, but now you're like extraordinary. And I'd be
That's
like,
got to be so frustrating.
and I'm like, I'm not the guy from the 80s. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh.
Well,
And it
where
was
is the
like,
guy from the 80s?
it was less important that I was a
Right.
better singer in their mind. I'm not saying I'm a better singer, but they were coming up to me and saying that I was singing better than I did in the 80s,
Right.
thinking I was that guy. And then when they found out I wasn't that guy, the better singing didn't matter. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
was like that really like opened my eyes to like the way that people consume music and the way that people process social status. And it
Hmm.
really was kind of a bummer because I was like, wow, like, doesn't it matter that I'm just singing well? Like,
Right. Are
isn't
you
that a good
enjoying the
thing?
show?
And then when I started doing like my own projects after that, you know, it was very satisfying because it was my music and it was my, you know,
Yeah.
it was me. And then people, when strangers would come up to me and express appreciation for the work, that felt really good. And it's like, even though it wasn't like as big, uh, it was still, it was the satisfaction was much bigger, you know. And I
Yeah.
love like Michael, my bandmate from Winter Room. I love Michael, and he gave me the experience that every musician dreams of, which is to tour and record and like, you know, get on a plane, fly to another country, get off the plane, walk onto a stage in front of 20,000 people, have them lose their shit, and then you get back on a plane and fly to another country. It's like, so I know now as an artist like what that experience feels like, you know. And most musicians will never know what it's like to be in a band that has a song on the radio and to be touring and be on planes. And you know, like most musicians think that they're, this is the great irony of it, is that most musicians think that they're missing out because they're not getting that experience. And like the
Mm.
real experience is the satisfaction of sitting on the edge of your bed and writing a great song and knowing that you just made something really great. And like, I can't wait for people to hear this. Like that, when your brain says that sentence, you have succeeded in the music industry. And everything else after that is just fringe lunacy, you know?
Right.
And then I remember like guys, you know, buddies of mine that, you know, have been married for like 30 years who were musicians, but they, you know, they stopped being musicians to become family men, you know, and here I am, you know, in my 50s, single, you know, and they've got a
Yeah.
family and I've got like really fucked up stories about all the crazy groupie shit, you know what I mean? That I'm
Yeah.
ashamed of. Like they have a family, I have shame. You know what I mean? Like
Oh man.
you win, homie. Like you win. Like you won the life game, and I'm still like trying to figure it out. You know?
Right. It's
Yeah.
an interesting take too, man. And I'm kind of that musician who did that too, like, I was a drummer and wrote music and everything and was in a studio, never got
Yeah.
anywhere with it. But, then I met my wife and I've got my kids and everything now. And so that's kind of
Did you
interesting.
did you make music that you're proud of?
Absolutely.
Do you
Yeah.
still listen to it and go, I fucking nailed that?
I actually don't. It's funny. I had my buddy Gary he came on here. We
Yeah.
grew up in high school together and everything. We kind of ran around and did whatever. And he used to go to the studio with me and everything. And he talked about, the music that I was making or whatever. And he recalled the last time that I had one of my demos. It was rolling around in the back seat of the truck on a CD
Yeah.
cover, and it was like, oh, that was crazy. But the power of music, because even Gary in that episode, he said, I remember I was going through a breakup at your apartment when we were younger, and you were playing this song, time passes by or whatever, and it was like inspirational to my breakup. You know what I mean? So like a song can be just that powerful, no matter at what level. But
Then
yeah,
then you got both because you got to make music that touched people's lives, and you also got to get to be a family man.
that's
That's
awesome, dude. Thanks,
rad.
dude.
That's rad. Like, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of your life.
Well, shit. Well, tell us about this new project, man, because I know it's kind of like hush hush, man. I'm still
Yeah.
enjoying the hell out of that music you sent me. What's the band dynamic like for this next chapter of your life, man? It's real powerful
So
stuff.
this is the brainchild of my friend Kyle. Kyle Mormon is his name, and
Hmm.
he's a very talented producer, composer, engineer. Like like he did the last Pink record. He's done like a ton of stuff with Linda Perry. He's from that universe.
Oh wow.
But he is an extraordinary talent. He's like, if you don't even put music into the conversation and just talk about his brain, like he is literally like a genius. Like he knows everything about everything. It's annoying. And then, but then on top of it, he's like just a sweet, kind, generous human being. And we met like 10 or 11, maybe 12 years ago. I'm not exactly sure, but we just kind of clicked immediately and just became really good friends. And we did like one or two things here and there. We'd get together and jam, and it was always fun. And he loved my solo band, and he was always like talking about like working me into something. Like he always wanted my voice on his music somehow. And then he walked away from the industry for a while, and he started making this like this hypnotic, otherworldly, like synth music, kind of like the weirder Pink Floyd
Hmm.
synthy kind of stuff, but his
Yeah.
own thing, but like really like mind bending and otherworldly and just haunting and beautiful and indescribable. And then he would go into these performances he has this synthesizer called a Moog Matriarch, and he figured out how to create like all of these unconventional sounds using this synthesizer. And he brought me in one day, and I, at this point, I was done singing. Like, I did not want to sing, and I certainly didn't want to be in the music industry like ever again. And
Okay.
and he brought me in, and I started hearing singing. I started hearing my voice in my head sing over it while he
Oh
was
wow.
playing
Almost
it.
kind of like re-inspiring.
Just, yeah, like it was just one of those things where my son's music does this to me too, where like he'll send me like a song that he's recorded, and I'll start hearing me wailing over it. And with Kyle, he had that same impact. And then when he was finished, he did like this 30-minute performance, and then when he was done, he turned around, and I was just like,
Yeah.
what was that? And he's like, you want to sing over this? And I was like,
Cool.
yeah. And it wasn't involuntary, like I didn't even think about it. And then he's like, I really want to bring in, um, he was in this metal band called Bleed the Sky, which was like a
Okay.
really, really great metal band. And the drummer in that band was Austin. And
Oh yeah, you were sharing him with me yesterday. Holy smokes.
Austin is like, he's my favorite human being on the planet. Like, he is such a great human being. Like, he's so um deep. Like, he's got a really deep heart, and he
That's cool,
feels
man.
he feels things like in a really heavy way, but he's whimsical and sensitive and intuitive. Like, he reads people,
Yeah.
and he's hilarious. He could be like one of the greatest comedians of all time. Like, he's just, and you can't even imitate him. Like, he walks into a room and you just start laughing, and he hasn't even said anything. He'll just walk
Oh
in and
yeah.
make a face, and you just, And so,
Just fall apart.
so Kyle and Austin, have known each other for like decades. Kyle and I have known each other for over 10 years. And we've all like had like Kyle and Austin had like a very heavy, like mutual respect for each other. And Kyle and I have had like a very mutual appreciation for each other artistically.
Yeah.
And then, Steve just texted me.
Yeah.
Thelma. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Steve Toma, our Fleetwood Mac buddy, man.
So he's like, hey, bro, check out my song. So hang on, I'm gonna be like,
Yeah, let's do it, man.
dude, this
Everybody in our
sucks.
audience remembers Steve, man. That was a good
Yeah.
episode.
So here's what I'm gonna do. We're live, right? So he
Yeah,
just
yeah.
sent me this, hey bro, check out my song. And this is my response. Dude, this sucks. You should never do music again. I love fucking with Steve.
Yeah.
He's like a surrogate kind of father figure to me, So I always have to be like, fuck you, dad. It's probably brilliant. But so as human beings, the only thing that was undetermined when we first came together was whether or not Austin and I would click as people.
Yeah.
And I had no idea who he was. And so when Kyle told me about him, I looked him up and like I saw his drumming and I was immediately like, okay, he's a phenomenal talent. He's like perfect. And then I was like, well, what kind of person is he? Because I've been in bands with people that are like incredible musicians, and there's this like weird thing about like the better a musician you are, the shittier a human being you are. And with Austin, it's the opposite. Like he's just the best human being. He's just the best person. And like we just immediately started cracking each other up and like making each other laugh. And then like we started talking about sobriety and we got into like heart, and like the matters of like, being like a connected human being and like, caring about shit and caring about people. And
yeah,
I just like everything. Like the more I get to know him, the more I just love him. Like he's my favorite person. I love him. And so, we spent the first 3 hours of that first meetup just talking and hanging out. Like we didn't even touch an instrument for hours. And then all of a sudden we sat down and Kyle was like, well, let's play something. And Kyle started playing his matriarch and doing like his weird synth stuff. And then Austin just started playing this crazy drum pattern over it. And like the best singing I've ever done just poured out of me. And it was like immediate. It was like the most instant thing I've ever. We could do a show right now and have no set list and just go out and improvise. I've got like hundreds and hundreds of lyric sheets. Like I write like, I don't know, like 10 lyric sheets a week. Like my brain is just constantly like generating lyric sheets that I don't even have a song for. It's just, it's like being stuck on a road trip with an asshole who won't shut up. Like that's like, that's my brain. It's just, it's terrible. But because of that, I have a lot of lyric sheets. And so we can just sit down and Kyle will start playing something on guitar or something on a synthesizer. And then Austin locks in because they have this like really weird, like psychic link with each other with music where like they just start playing together. And it's just like, they just know what the other person, it's just there. And I think that comes from like playing so much in Bleed the Sky, but I also think that there's like an innate link between them. And then for whatever reason, when they do that link, it turns me into a good singer. And then I just start
that's cool.
Pulling out lyric sheets and saying whatever's on the paper and making it fit, with the whatever the harmonic template of the song is, and and then it just starts turning into a thing, and then Kyle as well is just like a brilliant composer. Like we'll be sitting in a restaurant and like every third song is a song that he either co-wrote or produced. Like it's ridiculous.
awesome,
Like
man.
he's so prolific. He's just all over the radio. And so like, and there's no one he hasn't worked with. It's really annoying, like how storied his career is. And
Right.
yeah, he's just this really, really insane monster talent. And so, but when it's just the three of us in the room just playing,
Yeah.
there's like this thing that happens that I've read in books about, like with, you know, you hear about these stories about these bands, like they get into a room and something happens. And like I've dreamt of being in a band like that. And like this band is definitely that. Like when we get in a room, it's something happens and it's like it's transcendent, you know. It's really wonderful to be in the room. You know?
Yeah, it sounds like just really
Yeah.
good positive energy, man. And
Yeah.
uh, do you think, coming from the audio engineer world, do you think that there's like a balance between human emotion and digital perfection?
I have I really don't like musicians like
Hmm.
that. It music, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
musicians.
Yeah. No, yeah,
There are
we know.
people who have like great ideas, like they have great hearts and they have great minds,
Hmm.
but they don't know how to physically do it.
Right.
And now, because of technology, there's a way for them to get their ideas into the physical world. And I
Yeah. And that's kind
love
of,
that.
yeah, we've discussed some of this technology before on the show. Jared and I have. What is your take on that, with people introducing AI technology and stuff into music?
Oh, AI technology?
Yeah, I mean, dude, that
Well,
takes
that
away so much.
there's different kinds of things. Like in post production, in television, like you know, uh, like there will be an actor on set who's
Hmm.
performing, and they have like a plastic bottle, you know, a water bottle, and they're
Yeah.
crinkling it while they're saying something like really emotional, and it's like that's the take, and it's like you don't want to lose that take because like the actor just did such an exquisite, perfect job. And so I
Hmm.
can go in with AI shit with technology and I can remove the sound of that bottle, that plastic bottle crunching, so that the performance is preserved and that the distraction of that water bottle isn't in there. In the
Yeah.
musical world, um, sometimes a person needs an idea. Like oftentimes, like what'll happen is you'll get an idea from AI. If like, you know, someone will say like, you know, oh, give me a song that's like a cross between, you know, the Beatles and Tribe Called Quest, you know,
Hmm.
at this tempo in this key. And then AI will generate it. And then you listen to it and it inspires something else. And then you go and you do that something else. And then it becomes this song and nobody has any idea that AI was like, you know, making a Frankenstein out of Tribe Called Quest and Beatles. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
when someone is pumping out volumes of content that's just strictly AI and then selling that and making like an AI band and selling that, um, and people are buying it,
Yeah.
I think that says a lot more about the buying, about the consumer than it does about the producer. Um, I think that there's a lot of blame placed on people who are willing to do what the public will put up with. And I think there should
Yeah.
be a lot more responsibility placed on the public. And I think that there's a growing movement of music or art consumers, people who love art and want to experience art. Like I don't even like saying consumer, but like people who love art and want to experience art, who want it to be like a human thing where like a
Hmm.
human being experienced something and then had to make art because the experience was so profound that like they had to do something to just process this insane event that they went through. And so they made a song or they made a movie or they made a painting, or they dance, they put
Yeah.
this, and it's like, there's a growing interest, I think, in the guarantee of that by the consumer, by the public, that they don't want this AI, generated art. They want human generated art. But there's also a large portion of the public that doesn't care and just treats art like background noise that they're entitled to for free. And as long as that demographic exists, there are going to be people in commerce who are perfectly willing to exploit it, because it's easy to type in a few keywords, make a song, and then sell it to those people. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm much more interested in keeping my heart clean than I am in worrying about what someone else is doing. Like, am I telling the truth? Am I being real? Am I doing something that I think is worth doing? And a lot of that has to do with like being of service and like really being locked into like, how am I serving, the
Yeah.
collective? And when I'm in that headspace of like trying to be of service and trying to bring, good or positive or life or love, when I'm trying to put that into the world, I find myself much less interested in the conversation about whether or not AI is a monster or a, a wonderful tool.
Yeah, no, I like that too. And you broke down like both purposes, like
Yeah.
and what the point is too. Do you think that kind of authenticity shows up through our Gen X DNA? Kind of like when we
Our
when we do
what?
that, just our Gen X DNA, our generation, kind of.
I think that that when a human being um connects to humanity in a profound way and then expresses the experience of that profound connection to humanity, when they turn that into an artistic expression, i think I think there's something in that expression that transcends in a way that
Yeah.
is easily spotted by people who are looking to have that experience themselves. And this is diverse, because like for a long time, I was like Angela from The Office, like complaining about jazz and like just play the right notes, you know.
Yeah.
And I did not have an emotional connection to jazz, and now like I really am like feeling like emotions that don't have names when I listen to like like bitches like Miles Davis or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think there are people out there that are looking for music that is connected in a way that is identifiable to them.
Hmm.
And then I think there are people that are putting music into the world that is very authentic to who they are, and there maybe just isn't a lot of people that are looking for that expression. So, am I answering your question? I feel like
Yeah.
I'm being
No.
circuitous here, and I don't know if
No,
I'm.
you're not at all too, because that's got me thinking, man. Like, do you think there's kind of like this Gen X artist bridge through old school authenticity and kind of
I
the
don't
new
think that. I don't think
crossover?
that. Yeah, I don't think that the Gen X thing is a thing. I think
Hmm.
that the human thing is a thing, and that and and I've been doing comedy, and I've been like I'm like 57, like I'm old, like I'm fucking old, right?
You're still
And
young, man.
and I and I tell my doctor, but then like I talk to these kids that are like 19 to 23 that are just starting out in comedy,
Mm.
and like I'm doing this solo record. I have this solo project that I'm kind of like quietly doing. And when the kids find out that I want that I'm making a solo record, they're like, "Oh, are you going to put it out on cassette?"
Asshole.
And I'm like, "No. Like, why would I put anything on? Do you understand like what the legacy of cassette is? It's a horrible medium that was like a bad solution to a problem that shouldn't have been a problem. And then we got rid of that shit as quick as we could because it sucked. And they're like, yeah, but I like the cassette because it's real. Because I know that a musician played an instrument that got captured by a microphone, that got turned into an electronic impulse that was printed to magnetic tape, and that magnetic tape was transferred to another magnetic tape. And now I have a direct physical connection to a song that someone made 45 years ago, and that's cool. And these are like 20-year-olds, and they know more about my music than I do. Like they're talking to me about music that I was listening to when I was 15, and they know more about it than I do. You know what I mean? So like, I
Yeah.
don't think this is generation this or that or this age group and that age demographic. Like, I really feel like one of the beauties of the internet is that kids are really getting good at finding what's good, and they're getting really good at avoiding what's not. And it's turning them into like huge Led Zeppelin fans, huge huge Pink Floyd fans. Like, these guys are like talking to me about Pink Floyd, like me and my buddies were talking about Pink Floyd when I was 13. You know, and they
Yeah.
know they're talking about the same songs, they're having the same reaction, and they're having the same conversation about like, well, what is The Wall about? What is Wish You Were Here about? Oh, it's about, it's about Sid Barrett, man. And like, they know all this stuff, and they know it better than I do. So I really feel like the hunger for real music is like a timeless, ageless thing. And I feel like the comedy thing has really made me a lot more hopeful about being a musician. And like, I'll play them stuff I did like when I was, 18 or whatever, and they don't know that it's old. Like, they think it's like it to them it might be some like 18-year-old kid today who's trying to mimic the sound of what I was doing because of what I was limited to technologically when I was 18. Like, it's a lot better than I thought it was. Like, once I started like going outside and talking to human beings and like interacting with people who weren't my age, who weren't getting solicited by ADT or whatever, or AARP or whatever that is, like people who were like young, once I started talking to them, like what I found was that they're like very engaged and very driven to find music that matters, art that matters. It's incredible, and they're so much smarter than I was. Like, the kids that are like in their teens and 20s now are like so much smarter than I was. Probably they're smarter than I will ever be. Like, they're so educated and they're so integrated into the technology, but they're harnessing it in a way that gives them access to the humanity that every human craves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure, man.
That's my experience. But then there's also idiots who can't spell and think that the sun revolves around the earth, so I don't know. What are you going to do?
Right. Well, what's your message to younger artists?
Can I please open for you?
Right.
Do you think I'm cool? I hope you think I'm cool. Like, I don't need to tell anybody anything. Like, the great thing about great art is that nobody needs to tell the great artist what they should or shouldn't do.
Right.
Like, every great artist I know, and like, because of like being in the music industry for a while and kind of becoming part of that whole community to a certain extent, the thing I learned over and over again is that the people who are great don't need any help. There's no stopping somebody who knows that they have stumbled onto greatness. Like, a person who has found lightning in a bottle doesn't need advice from people who haven't.
Right.
And it's like, no means maybe. The professionals don't know what they're doing. And if I think it's cool, it's cool. That's universal truth right there. Those three things are true in every industry. And it's like, the people who end up running things are always the people who the experts pan as not knowing what they're doing. You're not supposed to do that. There's this great story David Bowie tells about how he and Brian Eno were in the studio and they'd bring in these new synthesizers when like synthesizers were newer,
Yeah.
and these engineers would bring in the synthesizers and they'd immediately start looking for ways to break them. And the engineer would be like, no, you're not supposed to do that. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. And they'd break the synthesizer. They'd make the synthesizer do something it wasn't designed to do. And that was the cool thing, you know?
That is cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of like, we had Chris Ballou. He was from a band in the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was called
What
Presidents of
band?
the United States of America.
Oh,
Yeah, dude.
great.
Yeah, he was on here, man, and he's
Rad. That's
we
a
were
great, yeah.
yeah, we were getting into his process, and his process basically was like, I took 2 strings off my guitar, man. I'm using 3 strings here. I'm gonna bring every sound I'm gonna throw everything into it, man. The bass, the guitar, the drums, trombone, whatever. Throw everything in there.
Yeah.
And he kind of got that from like the lead singer of Heart, kind of shared that
Yeah.
with him because he's kind of from the Seattle area. And then they throw everything into a track and then slowly start making things disappear, And he just was kind of very all about, like, that was his creative process, was like making things differently than everybody else, which is just so incredible. I hope that the younger artists kind of come at it with that attitude.
I see that over and over again. Where like
Mhm.
again, like these kids are smarter than me. They're smarter than me.
Yeah,
They're
it's
smarter than a
me
lot of
too.
people I know. You know what I mean? My
Yeah, yeah.
computer keeps ducking out. But it's like like I'm in awe of like we'll sit down and have conversations, and like to them I'm hilarious,
Mhm.
because like I have all of these like limitations that don't exist for them. Like mentally,
Right.
like I think that things are a certain way because my whole life I've been told that things are a certain way. And they're like, no, you just do this. And I'm like, wait, what? Like
Yeah.
all day long. So, what, you can do that? You know? And it's
Yeah.
like yeah, I mean, to me, like I'm not very excited about like what the old people are doing right now. Like
Right.
I'm pretty excited about what young people are doing right now because it's like they
Yeah.
care about like society, they care about the future, they care about the planet, they care about like freedom, they care about art, they care about compassion, they care about
Mhm.
empathy, they care about like justice. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of that coming from the older people who were like complaining about the younger people. The older people that are
Mhm.
complaining about the younger people, like I kind of have no patience for them anymore. It's like you're dead in a couple of years, and
Right.
then the people who are left behind, who have to deal with the mess that you left for them,
Yeah.
are are
Yeah.
like instead of being like um, resentful about that, they're like, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix it? And they're like sitting
Right.
around trying to figure out how to fix it. And I'm just like, man, like why couldn't I have grown up with these fucking teenagers? The teenagers I grew up with were assholes.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I remember I was writing this operetta, and it was um, like when I was 11, I was writing this little mini opera thing, and it was this
Mhm.
concept of like this porcelain clown that would come to life at night, and he was alone
Right.
in this toy room, and he would just walk around in the toy room like being alone. And then one day the dad comes home and gives the kid a ballerina, and the kid's like, I don't fucking want this, whatever, and he just puts it on the shelf. And at night, like the clown comes to life, but then the ballerina comes to life, and now all of a sudden in this room full of dead toys, like the clown is no longer alone,
Yeah.
and like they fall in love, and they have this like beautiful kind of like ballroom, but just the two of them dancing. And it's like the clown has a melody and the ballerina has a melody, and those melodies play together perfectly and form like a new piece of music. And
Right.
then the next morning the kid comes in, knocks over the ballerina crashes into 100 million pieces.
Hmm.
And then that night the clown comes back to life, and he grieves the loss of the ballerina. And then the next morning the kid walks into the toy room, and the clown is on the floor in a million pieces, like he kills himself. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
and then you hear kind of this faint intermingling of their melodies, but in a much softer way. Well, for the dance scene in that, I wanted to choreograph that, and I didn't know how to dance, and so I started going to clubs dressed as this clown, this porcelain clown,
Oh wow.
trying to like learn how to do the dance moves that I wanted to do. and because it was the only place I could find a floor where it was, you know, and I started getting, you know, like just the shit kicked out of me, my jocks, you know. And so like I ended up going to like these underground gay clubs where like guys wore makeup and that was normal. And I was free to do that and no one harassed me. It was fine to just be an artist kid who wanted to work out some
Gotta
dance
draw
moves for
inspiration.
an operetta. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and it's like today that would not be a problem. You know, like they don't care. They don't care. Like they don't care if you're gay. They don't care if you're trans. They don't care if whatever. If you're, you know, non-bi, they don't care. They're just like, yeah, whatever, man. Let's hang out. It's fine. They don't care. And it's like that wasn't what was happening when I was a kid. You know, like you got like physically assaulted, like by, you know, a swarm of jocks for looking the way I looked. You know, and so like to me, it's like when I hear old people now like complaining about kids, I'm just like, fuck you. They're rad. You suck. You know, like you should be getting advice from them about what you should do. You know. Anyway, sorry for my rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
You're all good, brother. You're all good. Have you ever had an epic stage fail?
Yes. So my favorite is we were doing shows in Texas, and
Okay.
the first night was in Houston, right? And that was crazy. Like they went ballistic for us, and so I was having a good time. I think we were doing like pictures and autographs for like 3 hours or something crazy like that after the show, right?
Yeah.
You know, and that was awesome. And I was like up all night. I couldn't sleep. I was just, you know, like sometimes, you know, like a show, like, you know, just you just keep replaying it over and over and all the great stuff that happened. And so I didn't
Yeah.
sleep that night. And then the next night we went into Austin. So the first night was Houston, the second night was Austin. And we get up on stage in Austin and I go, "What's up, Houston?" And like if you know Austin people, like calling them Houston people is like the worst thing you can do. And it took like 3 songs to win them over, you know?
Oh man.
Like, you know, that Bill Burr thing
Yeah,
where
yeah,
he's
yeah.
in Philadelphia and he just starts ragging on the city.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
like over time, he like wins them over. It was kind of like one of those things where I really had to like turn it on and like sing my ass off to get him to like me. And then by the end of the show, you know, we had some new fans, but yeah, the first couple of songs were rough. They were like
What's
throwing
up,
shit. It was
Houston?
great.
That's
Yeah,
awesome, man. That was
yeah,
definitely going to the highlight reel.
yeah,
All right, bro. I'll cut it off. All
yeah.
right, we've reached a portion of the show that we like to call Jared's Five. And I'm going to feel really
Uh-huh.
weird doing this
Okay.
by myself here. So
Yeah.
what we'll do is we'll ask you a question from the previous guest. You'll have a question for the next guest and some fun stuff that Jared came up with in between.
Hmm.
And we've been
Okay.
kind of doing this for quite a few episodes now. So
Sure.
Derek Morris was our last guest, and he's a Southern California artist as well. He
Cool.
kind of has like a Blink 182 / kind of heavy sound, uh, kind of
Nice.
punk, you know. And he tries to help people with his message through PTSD. And his question for you was: there was this viral picture of a dress in like 2015, right? And you could look at it, and based on your personality of whatever color that was, it would tell a story about kind of who you are. And I know I'm butchering this because I don't have the picture. I don't remember seeing it, but do you know what I'm talking about? It was kind of like this picture that came out and people saw different colors or
The
whatever.
dress was an online viral phenomenon centered on a photograph of a dress. Viewers disagreed on whether the dress was blue and black or white and gold.
Hmm.
Is that the one?
Yeah. So when you look at that, what color do you see? That was the question from the previous guest. And thanks for pulling that up, man.
I see blue and gold. I don't know what that
Blue and
means.
gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Is this
We'll have
neuroscience
to
shit? Yeah, it's neuroscience
Yeah,
shit.
we'll have to we'll have to see what that means coming from your artist perspective.
Hmm.
What was your favorite movie of all time?
That's okay. So it's one of the following: Blade Runner,
Okay.
Brazil, The Shining,
That's a
and
good one.
yeah, and Raising Arizona. It's one of those. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but it's one of those. Oh,
That's
and there's
awesome.
this one called Lion about this Indian dude who
Yeah.
like he's an orphan.
Uh-huh.
That movie's incredible. It came out like a long time ago. It's like really heartbreaking, but then at the end, it's like the happiest ending in the world. And I love that movie. Oh, and Groundhog Day is good. I like Groundhog Day a lot. Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids is a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite cartoon growing up if you had one?
um, hmm. I like the one where Bugs Bunny is fighting the Crusher.
Okay.
Yeah. The Crusher. That's good
Yeah.
stuff, man. Yeah.
What's one thing people don't know about you that they should?
I don't know. um, I don't know that anybody should know something about. I really, I am not a good person, but I really want to be. I really, really want to be a good person. And I have so much shame and so much regret. Um, like when I was coming up, like all kinds of stuff was done to me, and I turned into someone who was kind of terrible. And I did stuff that I shouldn't have done, and now I really hate myself about it. And there are times in my life where I'm doing okay and like I'm going the right way, and then there are times in my life where some kind of devastation hits and I fall and I revert to type and I become terrible again. And I hate that. I hate that about myself. Um, but I really do, like at my core, like when all is said and done, like I really do want to be a good person, and I really do try to be a good person. Um, and I wish I could go back and do like so many things different. I made just so many terrible, terrible decisions, and I hurt people and betrayed people and like didn't give people love they deserved. And I just wish I could go back and do that over, you know. Um,
Mm.
but I also know that in a weird way, like my mistakes and the consequences, the cost of my mistakes. When I see people, when I'm talking to people who are about to make those mistakes, and I start telling them about the consequences of those mistakes, because I made those mistakes, I feel like they feel what I'm talking about, and it talks them out of making the same mistakes I made. And so, in a
Mm.
weird way, like I can't change my past, but I can change their future sometimes. And that feels good. But that's, there isn't much bright side, you know, like the mistakes I've made and the terrible things I've done and the horrible things I've said and things I haven't done that I should have done, like that stuff just, it destroys me like on a regular basis. And I think that's why I'm always working at something, is because like I don't know, I want to like settle that account, and I can't. Like you can't. There's stuff you can't go back and fix, and so because of that, there's this impossible debt that I can't ever repay, and so it makes me work really hard, even though it's like a futile thing to try and you can't time travel and fix shit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it's that human emotion, right? That shame that you feel, that's your good natured part of you though that wants to help other people though. And I find that incredible. I really do. Given what you just said there, what would be your question for the next guest?
Um, Who is the next guest?
I think it's going to be an author, but I'm not
An
quite
author?
sure. Yeah, we've had some scheduling conflicts lately, but
Uh-huh.
I think we have an author coming on next. Her name's Lisa.
Oh, cool. What is she like?
We haven't met her yet, but she's coming on. She was kind of in the political spectrum for a while, so
Uh-huh.
she had something to do with kind of like crowdfunding, petition, kind of organizing protests for political parties or something. And she was doing that with the Democratic Party. We'll
Uh-huh.
get her book up here, and she kind of just got really annoyed with that. She wanted to get out of that system, and so
Yeah.
I feel really stupid right now for not having her book up.
No, no, no,
I
no, no,
think
no.
she's
That's
the yeah,
yeah.
she'll be the next guest, and she's got a pretty good take on her view and idea of politics and how people should feel about that.
Okay, so the question is this. Um, are you convinced that love is the answer?
Mm, that's a good one, man.
And if so, why? And if not, why?
All right. Well, thanks so much for sitting down with us today, man. I really appreciate it, Johnny.
I hope
singer,
I like
producer, engineer.
yeah,
You,
I hope I didn't suck here. I'm not like Steve Toma, like he's like actually done something with his life, like I'm not, I was telling Steve, like, I don't know why he talks to me. You know what I mean? Like he's like an accomplished human being, and like,
well, so are you, man. And I think you're kind of like, I think you're that humble natured guy, like you feel this shame, and
yeah,
you've been a great guest, and I hope I can call you my friend, man. I noticed that
fuck yeah,
kind of about you, like you don't like to see pictures of yourself or be that lead
yeah,
singer for that other band, and I think that's
yeah.
a really, I think that speaks volumes to your character, man. So
Did you ever hear that Benjamin Franklin quote about humility?
no.
He said, humility is not a human trait I possess, but if I did, I'd make sure all my friends knew about it.
That's fantastic, man. Well, I mean, you are the proof that sound
Guy's
still
funny.
matters, my friend. You are. You are. You
Yeah.
got soul behind it. That's freaking awesome.
We
Everybody
got
go
to
check
work
out his
on it.
latest
Oh,
work.
sorry.
No, you're fine, man. And we'll play some of the tracks and that you sent us, and really appreciate you sharing the music, man.
Thanks,
That's
dude.
incredible. Everybody, it's been I don't want to butcher your last name again, man.
No,
Johnny
I hope
Ceravolo.
it doesn't matter. I hope Jared's feeling better.
I hope he
Please
does
send him my
too. Yeah,
best. Yeah, and Ian, I want to thank
will
you
do.
for your kindness and for your like just being absolutely on the ball with all this stuff and like being like so professional and so lovely and so kind and so generous. Like I really appreciate
Thanks,
you, man.
man.
And so yeah, and fuck yeah, we're friends. Like let's hang out.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah,
Well, let me know when you start pumping out some more of that stuff now that you got your band back together, man.
we'll do.
All right, friend. Everyone, thanks for joining us on Common X.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today to the podcast, Common X with Jared and Ian. We really appreciate you guys and would love your support. So make sure you click that subscribe or like button or follow us on all our social media platforms and on YouTube and Spotify, because that would really help us out. And that helps us bring more episodes to you guys every week, and hopefully from content that you guys want to see. So reach out, TikTok, YouTube, leave comments. If there's anything that you guys want to see or any guests that you want us to try and get on, let us know. We do have a good lineup coming. So thank you again. We love you guys. Thanks for your support. And we'll see you next time. And remember, common sense isn't that common. So that's why we're bringing common sense back from Generation X.